Hi everybody, it's Claire with another art journal video. I'm playing in the small craft journal and I'm going to be creating a page where I alter the shape of the page by cutting it. Shock horror, you're thinking you're always doing cutout pages, but this one is a little bit different. So you notice that I've cut it into a third on the left hand side and 2/3 roughly on the right hand side, and then I've kind of pinned it back in place. So I'm just adding some paint onto that first page. I'm using a peacock on here. I think it's peacock. It's either peacock or ocean, one of those colours. I'm not 100% certain. I can't completely tell, but they are very similar in shades, really, those colours. And then I'm going in with turquoise and just adding a little bit of a lighter contrast on there. I'm using one of Dina Wakley's brushes, sorry. And then I've gone in with some white paint too. And the paints are still wet, so they're blending quite nicely. Then once that was dry, I'm then going in with this stencil. It's called Connected Dots. And I am using a really pretty purple from Amsterdam Acrylic, which is called, just finding it, Ultramarine Violet Light. Okay, and then once they were dry, I've then folded the left hand cutout bit over to the side and pegged it out the way, and then I'm just using some of this adhesive tape that you wet it and it makes it sticky, and I'm going to be sticking this piece in place onto the page behind. It's probably easier for you just to watch what I'm doing here and you'll see how it works. So one thing that I found I had to do was not stick it too close to the page behind, otherwise it wouldn't fold over properly and open up without it being kind of puckered. So that's why I'm faffing about peeling it off and sticking it back down again. So that's just a water brush there that I'm using to activate the adhesive on this tape. It's really good stuff and brilliant for using in the craft journal. If you've watched my videos before, you'll have seen that I've used it to kind of reinforce the spine sometimes as well. So there you go. Now you can see what I've done. I've used one piece as a flip up and the other side just is still kind of attached in at the spine where it was originally. So here I'm just trimming the tape back a little bit just to tidy it up. Okay, so then once that was all done and I was happy with how that looked, then I'm going to add some colour on the inside as well. And so here I'm just using the same colours that I used on the first page and the same idea, just sweeping that colour on. Starting off with, I'm pretty certain it is peacock now looking at it. And then the turquoise. And then finally going in with the white. Really pretty colours together. Although to be fair, white does work with most things, doesn't it? And then again, I'm using the Connected Dots stencil and the same colour from Amsterdam Acrylic. So the reason I'm adding this colour on the inside, the same as the outside, is just so that there's a cohesiveness to the pages and they kind of work together. And also it cuts down on the amount of thinking you've got to do. So this is another one from Dina Wakley. It's called Crosshatch. I love how the lines work in this one. It creates quite a lot of dynamic movement on the page as well. So going in with the white, there is just, I've got a blending tool. I'm only getting a little bit of paint, and you notice I was kind of smooshing it on the glass mat before adding it through the stencil. I didn't want it to be too bright, so I just wanted like a kind of a hint of that white really coming through the stencil. And I'm just adding that in some places. And then I'm going in with some collage tissue paper. This is from Dina Wakley and it's the white on white. So this is one of her older packs of collage paper. I'm not sure at all what the pack is called, but you just have to have a search through. And I'm sure you would be able to come across it. But this one is great just for adding a little bit of text into the page, but without detracting from the background that you've created. It's just another way of adding more layers, but these are quite subtle layers really, I guess. So this is a Tim Holtz stamp, and it's from the mark making stamp set that he does. And here I'm just using some white paint with this. I do have a white ink pad, but I found that because I've used a lot of coloured coloured inks on these stamps, and I don't clean them, I stamped it on my nice new white ink pad, and oh my goodness, it made really pretty patterns on it, and I was really annoyed. So I decided I would just use white paint with it. So then I'm using this mask from the Growing Things set, and I'm using Night around the mask, and then making sure that it joins the top and the bottom of the page so it's not floating. And then I'm just adding a little bit of white in, and then I'm going to do a couple in the front, in the foreground of the page. And it works quite well really doing it this way because it's in the same colour palette. All you've done is added white and just made it a little bit lighter. Okay, then I'm using the Signo Uniball in white, and I'm just roughly outlining the botanical shape that I've just masked onto the page. One thing, you need to make sure that your paint is completely dry before you go in with any sort of pen, particularly these Signo Uniballs or Posca pens, because if the paint is at all wet, I say that it eats your pens. It, it does. I don't know. I'm sure there's some technical term. It must just be that the moisture gets in, and then you can't make it work properly. But just make sure your page is really, really dry, otherwise you will destroy your pen. So that really pops those images out from the background. And now I'm just going in doing a bit of mark making. You can just kind of see at the bottom of the page there. Sorry, it's not quite in shot properly. And I'm just using a white Posca pen and a really pretty turquoise colour Posca pen too. And also a purple. So I'm only using the same colours that I have introduced into the background. Okay, so this is the Pensive Face stencil from Dina Wakley. It's one of my favourite face stencils. It's one that I've used for all sorts of different pages. It's so versatile. I think it's such an expressive face as well. And here I am again using Night through the stencil. So I decided I didn't want to use black because I felt that black would be too harsh, because the colours on the background are all kind of blues and purples, and this Night colour is a really beautiful purpley blue. It's such a pretty colour. Pretty, maybe not pretty, I don't know. Well, I think it's pretty. I really like it. And I think on a page like this it works really well because it can still create the impact that you're after without it being too stark, which sometimes black can be. And you all know that I do love to use black in my journaling too. Sometimes makes you all cringe a bit. Yeah, so now what I need to do is kind of make this feel like it belongs on this page, because at the minute it's kind of plonked in the middle. So I'm using my blending tool. I'm just kind of extending the head so that she's got some proper hair up there, and then just kind of working out how I'm going to join that the bottom part onto the page, and kind of making sure that it's then fixed in place and it looks like it's meant to be there. So then I am using this text stamp from Darkroom Door, and you can see my ink pad there. Look at those patterns on it from that stamp. I was so annoyed about that because that was brand new. Anyway, I've used that with some white ink, and then a bit more mark making, again using the same Posca pens. I do love how that looks. And I'm using the Signo Uniball as well, just to create some different sizes of dots on there. Sorry, just shuffling around on my chair. And then I'm going to do some journaling. So I'm just sketching out some rough lines, and then using this thin Posca pen, I am in capital letters just writing in my words. So I'm using the lines as a kind of guide to help me. It helps also keep the letters all the same sort of size, but also it's a good way to map out and make sure that the text that you're writing will actually fit on your page. Now, this quote isn't meant in a nasty way at all. I think this is something that life's experiences have taught me. And my brother always says that people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I think maybe he's right. So sometimes we need to forget some people from our past for one simple reason: they just don't belong in our future. And then I am using the Signo Uniball and doing some journaling, just using some Asemic writing up there. It stands out really well on that night colour, doesn't it? It works really well. And then I'm just going to add some splatters on the front page just to finish that off. I'm trying to be a bit more controlled with how I splatter my paint, because as I've told you so many times, I've redecorated my art den. And there it is, there's the finished page. So with the pages that fold in on themselves and then open up to reveal this cool face in the middle. So I hope you've enjoyed this page. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.